Oh, hello again, yes. Just to quote Ronald Reagan, there you go again. Yes. Toby Young cropped up on Talk Radio to have a chat with Kevin O'Sullivan about how Marxist teachers like me are teaching white privilege as fact. Yes. Anyway, I've done a previous video on this. I'll put up a link for that. Please do watch that when I go into greater detail. Sorry, it's about 11 minutes long, but we need to go into detail about these things. Anyway, the example he brought up as presumably his zinger fact is that and I'm going to quote from the Daily Mail here, a teacher at a secondary school in Kent is also understood to have compared former US President Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler during a history lesson. Which sounds really serious until we start to actually think about it. A secondary school in Kent. Okay, where? Yeah, history lesson. Okay, so what were they, 11, 14, 16, 18? Because that sort of context might actually be important. And yes, comparing something we do in schools, it's a skill. Yes, comparing former US President Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. Yes, okay then. I can think of, for example, if you were saying to kids about the meaning of things like populism, you might well do that. But the key thing about this, you might notice, is that it's got nothing to do with white privilege whatsoever. No. Anyway, Kevin, fawning as he does inevitably in the mighty brain of Toby Young, says, you're something of an expert in the field of education. Yeah, I mean, he's been appointed to stuff by the government, which he had to leave because, people didn't like him very much. Anyway, he's obviously not an expert in the field of academic rigour. This dossier of his, which is handed, I think, over a week ago now to the government, and it spurred actually no action at all. So presumably all the Marxists at the Department of Education are suppressing it somehow or other, I don't know. Anyway, he carries on blaming working class underachievement on leftist teachers, because it couldn't be any other reason, could it? No. Remember that particular one came out of the government that didn't want to discuss racism, so they highlighted working class underachievement. They always do. It's a bit like homelessness. Whenever, people bring up homelessness, suddenly we get very concerned about veterans. Oh, isn't it dreadful for the veterans being homeless? The rest of the time, I just don't care. If you believe that this present government, or indeed anyone on the right, cares about working class underachievement, I'll tip my hat to you, but I don't. Anyway, Toby's solution to all this was to expand British values, and this has been a requirement in schools since 2014, as he did indeed point out. I will point out the British values that we are legally entitled to teach. Sorry, not entitled, we have to teach these, okay? Democracy, the rule of law, individual liberty, mutual respect and tolerance. And because I teach older children, I will often get them to look at this, and I will get them to have a think about whether or not all of these exactly apply to our present government, or indeed previous governments. Just to be fair about it, because I have to be balanced. It's a legal requirement, as Toby well knows. Anyway, it's a bit of a stretch. Now, if I was teaching white privilege as fact, surely I wouldn't necessarily be following the rule of law. So I'm not quite sure how these expanded British values are going to work. Presumably it'll be that what I have to teach is democracy, the rule of law, individual liberty, mutual respect and tolerance, and the fact that left-wing ideas are wrong. I don't know. Let's have that one. I wouldn't put it past this government to try. Anyway, so once again, Toby Young on Talk Radio, being given a completely free ride to say whatever he likes, and no pushback whatsoever. And people will say to me, oh, it must be true because it's all over the internet. Must be true. There he goes again.